Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a live video. It's been like 8 months. I just looked up the last live videos and it's been 8 months since we've done a live. The last live that we did was when we first moved into the shop. So see, a couple of you guys are on. Let me know in the comment section if you can actually hear me. I just always like to make sure that the AirPods are connected. So Merry Christmas, guys. If you don't celebrate Christmas, Happy Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate. And thanks for tuning in. And it's been a pretty crazy year so far. Loud and clear. Perfect. Thanks, guys. Awesome. Just wanted to hop on and do a live just because it's a little bit more laid back and a little bit more chillax and kind of appropriate for the Christmas season, I figured. And I actually had the morning, Stacy. Actually had the bull video queued up for today, and I figured, you know what? I think it's time to do a live. So we've got a lot of things to cover, and I just wanted to get some Q&A, some questions and stuff from you guys. And yeah, so I've got a few kind of queued up questions already. I'm just reading the comments here as things go by. Awesome. I know everybody across, well, not everybody, but most people across North America. So here in Canada, we have been in an absolute deep freeze of weather. And I know it's kind of moving across the US. And I know lots of people are dealing with stuff right now that they're not normally having to deal with. So we've had, for the past week, we've had temperatures in like the minus 40 Celsius range, which is where minus 40 Celsius and minus 40 Fahrenheit meet up. And it's been absolutely brutal. And today is when we start a warming trend. So yeah, 22 here in Florida, crazy. Today's when we start a warming trend. So by the end of today, we should be at like close to 0 degrees Celsius, which is like 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So pretty crazy. I know it's nuts. It's been brutal, but we kind of expected. I feel sorry for a lot of you guys that don't normally deal with this stuff. So it's pretty crazy. So anyways, weather aside, Merry Christmas, everybody. It's been a crazy year. We've done so many projects in the shop. It has been awesome. Now, been doing the YouTube thing for 3 years now. 3 years now, and it's been a really cool 3 years. So it's been pretty nuts to see where this thing has gone and to see the builds that have come in and all this kind of stuff. So anyways, let's dive into some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about, some of the upcoming things we have, some of the upcoming builds that we have, which is right up there. And then we'll get to some questions and answers and stuff like that. So so upcoming giveaways. So Joe does all of my 3D printing stuff. And Joe recently started his own website. Joe sent me, I'm gonna make you guys mobile here. So Joe sent me some stuff to do a giveaway on. So we'll be doing this soon. This is actually an aluminum plaque. Very cool. Thank you, Joe. I love that. I've actually got a t-shirt done like that as well too. And then some 3D printed parts here as well. That'll be included in that giveaway. So that's one of the giveaways we have coming up. I think today we are going to be doing a test on a new product. And these things, I won't show you the name yet, but these things have intrigued me, and I've questioned them for a long time. But these little solder connector things that don't use a soldering iron. So basically, I received this box from the company, and what I asked them for was a box of a substantial amount so we could do a test on the channel. So I think we're going to do an entire video just on those solderless, or they're not really solderless, on those soldering ironless connectors. And we're going to do resistance and voltage and check all that kind of stuff and see how it works out. So that's one of the things I think we're going to be recording today. Other cool thing, we picked up some new planes yesterday. So, oh, Merry Christmas from Italy. Crazy. We've got 2 new planes here. One of them, the top one, is an F-86. That is, yeah, low temp melt solder. Thank you. The F86 is not mine. We won't be building it on the channel. It's my friend's Gary's. He's not in the country right now, so I picked that one up for him. And then we've got, where are we there? There we go. I think it says it, F4. So we've got an F4 there as well too. So that's one of the builds that's coming up is my F4 and that F4. We're going to build at the same time. So that's for David. Yes, Victor, I saw you got in your radio. Congratulations. Let's see. Oh, we've got a new balancing tool coming. So the balancing tool, I don't want to say too much right now, but the balancing tool is for, excuse me, guys, doing CG on airplanes. And it is a really, really cool product. Some of you guys, depending on where you're located, you may have seen the fellow that's been working on this already. And anyways, so that's coming up. Hopefully it'll get shipped out soon. And it's going to be a really, really cool device to have in the shop to be able to use. You guys may want to pick one up as well too. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say on that. We've got that coming as well. That'll be a standalone video because the piece of equipment is absolutely amazing. Upcoming builds I wanted to talk on as well too. Now this is in no particular order, but there's a shot of some of the upcoming builds that we have coming. So the Ranger is currently being worked on over there. And yes, the Bull is there and it's 100% complete. We've got a Carf L39. These two we're not doing videos on because we've already done them before on the channel. Hispano Aviation Ultimatum, we've got one of those coming. The F4 pair, so we've got a twin and the single. So that's coming up. Skymaster F18, the big F18, that's getting built. And that won't be on video as well too because we've done a couple of those. The Carf Strega, right there, that is coming up. The Colm engine for that is hopefully en route soon. We've got a Corsair Hangar 9 again. We've done one of those. We've got the XL Skymaster F14. That might be here in like first quarter of the new year. BVM, I think it's called a Super Bandit, but we've got a kit sitting over there in the aircraft storage area. And David would know what that is, but anyways, it's a kit BVM thing, so it's going to be awesome. And we've got a foam MiG-17 coming from Global Jets, and that's going to have an X-45 Zykoy installed in it. That is another cool project. That one's actually coming up pretty quick here. So that is the aircraft that we've got initially on the docket to be built in the next few months. We do have some F-16s coming as well. I think we haven't received them yet, but that's in the queue. And yeah, so that's basically the stuff. The Ranger build right now is going absolutely phenomenal. We've got, last night I was working on the Sky Candy landing light installation. So the kit on this is going to be nuts. And we've got landing lights, tip tank lights, marker lights, belly lights. It's pretty crazy. So anyways, the Ranger's in progress right now. It should be done over the next few days. And of course, the Bull is 100% complete. I just did the CG on it yesterday, like the 100% CG. And so it's 100% ready to fly. I was going to put it in the container, but I figured you guys may want to see it. So anyways, that's the Bull. The videos for the Bull will be coming out over the next couple weeks here. They're already recorded, already done. But that was an absolutely incredible airplane to build, very fast. And yeah, the Ranger, I see a lot of comments on the Ranger. So if you guys have watched all my videos, that Ranger, I liked building the first one so much, that one up there, that I wanted one of those. So I reached out to Boomerang and they sent me that one. We organized it all, and Sky Candy landing lights are getting installed on it. We're putting a Swewin 120 in there. No, I'm not going to do any videos on that Ranger just because we've already built a Ranger. So But I will tell you, this generation of kit is going together better than that generation that's up there. So that one is like, I don't know how many containers they get a year, but that was a couple shipments ago, maybe. This one here, it's just more accurate. So like one of the things that I was thinking about yesterday as I was putting this together is when you do up your tip tanks, there's this little keeper right here that you have to glue in. Well, in that first generation, I had to glue this in and then stick it in there to line it all up. This one's so accurate that you could just conceivably glue this in and leave it here and then put it in and drill the hole. So it's just been a lot more accurate on the kit. Everything's going together better and more accurately. So that, guys, I think is all of the updates that I had to talk about. Paul, thank you. Yeah, that yellow color is, I don't know if the camera's picking it up properly, but it is like so bright, so bright. It's unbelievable how bright of a yellow it is. It's really nice. The red pops too, but the yellow is just like amazing. So sorry, it's dry here. All right, so that is that's all the updates for stuff. Now I've got one question that Randy emailed me. Randy's on here now. So Randy sent me an email yesterday for a live question, and Randy's question was, and I don't have access to it because it's, hey Chad, it's on my phone, which is what you guys are being, what this is all going through right now. So Randy's question was, he's buying a jet that it's supposed to have a 120 to a 160 turbine, and he wants to install his Swewin 170 in it. The jet pipe, or the pipe, is 80 millimeters. Is that okay for a 170? And also, what's the size guidelines for pipe to turbines? What happens if it's too small and too big? So 80 millimeters, and I'm not an expert on this, so if you guys want to reach out to somebody that's an expert, I would suggest talking to like Hype Custom Pipes down in the US. He used to be Tam's guy that built pipes. You can also contact Germania as well too, but there is some generalizations. So the 80 mils is a little bit small for that size of turbine, but it'll probably work. So the Boomerang, the Ranger, as an example, I measured that before we started the live video, and the Ranger is 63 millimeters, I think, is what it ended up being, somewhere in that lower range, maybe 70 millimeters. And the 120 that goes in the Ranger works okay with that pipe size. One of the things that I find determines if the pipe size is okay is how thick the actual inner wall of the pipe is. So if you have a really thick pipe, then it's going to be able to deal with the heat better. If it's a really thin walled pipe, then you probably find it's going to get blue spots, colored spots, crumples, that type of stuff. And yeah, Victor, actually, that's a great point as well too. Why not turn down the 170? And that's okay, but some of it has to do with generally the size of the tail cone itself. And so there's a lot of factors that go into it. What's going to happen if the engine's too large is you'll find the pipe starts to deform, it gets hot spots, and so it gets hot locations. It usually gets discolored as well too, so it'll get that rainbow effect, which is not good. And if you keep running it, it's going to fail, and it's probably going to fail at the wrong time, which is either like takeoff or during flight or whatnot. So usually, yeah, an 80 mil pipe, you're going with like a 120 to a 160. And a Carf Ultra Flash, I think the pipe is 90 millimeters, and but it's a really thick pipe, so you could basically put in any turbine you want in that aircraft. Randy, the tutor that Cecil has, that pipe is 93 millimeters, and I would run a 180 in it, and he's running a 190. So so usually that 90 to 100 millimeter range, you can run the 170 to a 240 kind of size. So that's That's a little bit on pipe size. Now, if a pipe's too small, you're going to overheat the pipe. It's going to damage the pipe. You're also probably going to find that the turbine is very restricted, so the amount of airflow going through the pipe is restricted, and you may not be getting the full power of that anyways. If the pipe is too big, what's going to happen is you're probably going to get a reduction in power or thrust from your turbine. You've got this massive area with a small little turbine. Like if you had a 4-inch pipe and you put an X45 Zykoy in there, it's the pipe's not adding to any thrust, or it's not helping it with its thrust. So that's my opinion on everything. It's a bit of a complicated area. So, but what I would do with your 170, Randy, is I would put it in myself. I would do a couple test runs on it on the ground and just keep a really close eye on it. If it's got a big bell mouth, make sure that you split the distance on the bell mouth. So if the bell mouth is like one of those, the big ones, and the bell mouth is 4 inches long, you should run the end of the exhaust cone 2 inches in, the 50% point. If it's got a small bell mouth, then do the normal, like 30-ish millimeters away from the end of the pipe. So, yeah. So, I'm just going to scroll through the comments here and see what kind of questions we have. So Ray asked, do Sky Candy ship to the UK? I'm sure they can, Ray. Sal's going to be the best one to answer that. So if you look up Sal on Facebook or contact, Sky Candy Landing Lights, I'm sure they can do it. So Eric, that's very cool. I love seeing people that have just started in the hobby or come to the hobby. It's pretty awesome. Let's see here. So Russell just texted me. He said, what was the highlight of the year? That's a great question, Russell. I will actually touch on that next. Here's another question kind of relating to pipes. So can the Swewin 120 be dialed down to an 85? And would you recommend that? You can dial any turbine down. Flies great if you're at sea level with an 80, but with our elevation, we put a 120 in it. And the reason we do that is just because we get a huge reduction in thrust with the engines. So as long as let's say the airframe was designed for a 120, and you put a 120 in there, but you're turning it down to an 85, I don't see the reason to do that. It just doesn't make sense to me. That's what the throttle stick is for. And yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. What was the highlight of the year? I actually had a few highlights this year, and I'll talk about those next. Thank you for that question. That was super cool. This year probably was I did the most amount of flying this year that I have ever done, and I've done the most amount of flying at different locations. So there's been a bunch of highlights this year. Let's touch on those. Going down to Montana to fly with the Glacier guys was phenomenal, and it was just a wonderful time. Met so many cool people. We got to bring the F-14 down there, so that was kind of the first highlight of the year for me. Moving into the new shop space was a huge highlight. I mean, this has just been an awesome thing. I mean, initially, guys, when we were previously in my previous house, I only had one bay, like 12 feet to work on, and we've got like 24 by 45 feet in here, which has been just so cool. So moving into this shop space was awesome. Going to Kentucky was amazing as well too, and just experiencing the size of that kind of event. I've never done that before. The Kentucky Jets was the first time that I've been to a huge event like that, so that was a huge highlight of my year. Seeing so many new people come into the hobby was a huge highlight. I absolutely, and I don't want to overuse this, but I absolutely love seeing somebody brand new fly their turbine for the first time. I think of a couple events this year where we had some of our local guys here get their very first flight on their turbine. Their knees were shaking, and these are guys that are flying warbirds and expensive planes and all this stuff, and they get their fingers on a turbine jet, and they're just as nervous as can be. And that's what really does it for me. I love seeing new guys come to this hobby. I don't like the mentality of some of the people that think this is an old boys club, or that you need to be an elitist to fly a turbine aircraft. I think that is completely wrong. So that also was a huge highlight for me this year. Some of my friends just being able to fly amazing and getting their confidence back, that has been a huge plus. So yeah, and that's the events this year ultimately was a highlight. We finished off our year going to Princeton, which is about 8 hours from here, 8-hour drive. And it was a really long drive, but it's such a great time there. And it's been almost 8 years since I've been back there, or since I was there first. So it was really cool to go back there and see everything. So those are some of the flying highlights. This one may raise some concerns with people, but one of my equipment highlights this year was moving to Jetty radios. Yeah, I'm not going to touch too much on that, but the Jetty radio system, blown away by it. The complexity, but the openness of it is amazing. Thank you, David, for kind of organizing all that and getting that going. And one thing I'll say, guys, is keep this in mind. I was thinking about doing a standalone video of why I moved to Jetty. Some people asked for it. I don't think I'm going to do it, but I'll leave the Jetty stuff with this final remark. I was a JR team pilot, which means you get a discount on stuff. I now pay full price for all my Jetty equipment, and I'm happy to do so. So that's my comment. Not knocking any other radio system. You fly what you fly. If you're a Spectrum guy, congratulations, that's great. If you're a JR guy, awesome. Futaba, whatever you fly, congratulations. I've been really happy with moving to Jetty. It's been absolutely awesome. So, okay, let's go through some of these other questions. Okay, so what's my favorite colors or patterns for visibility? That's a good one. Orange is amazing. Unfortunately, my diamond's no longer, but the diamond was really visible in the sky, and that's one of the things I liked about this color scheme on the bull was the orange. So orange is really great. The color schemes or the colors that are bad are greens is really bad. And they look great on the ground. And the first green I think about is, so the CARF has their I forget what the scheme's called, but it's the scheme with all the funny angles and stuff. And then you've got the back end, which is like a yellow, or a Cayman scheme is what it is. And they make a Cayman scheme with the kind of like green or fluorescent green in the background or on the tail. And that is like disappears in the sky. It's a terrible color. So greens aren't a great color. Whites I really like because they're classic looking. Shows up great on like my Tudor as an example, or it's not mine anymore, but the Tudor was awesome because the white was just beautiful. On a blue sky day, it's amazing. On a cloudy day, it's not very good at all. So, but I guess it kind of depends on what works for your eyes. And Sal said yes, Sky Candy landing lights can be shipped to overseas. So Victor said, I don't think 120 can drop that far. When you're at the upper end of the turbine range, the RPM range, like 4,000 RPM makes a huge difference. So let's see here. So Nico asked, does the Huracan have a weird flying characteristics? I want one, but don't want a weird airplane that I won't enjoy. No, the Huracan is very, it's not overly neutral. It's not like flying a Rebel or the way the Bull flies. The Huracan is, if you've ever flown a Viper jet, it's very similar to a Viper. But no, the Huracan doesn't have any weird characteristics at all. It's a big plane though, so but it flies absolutely awesome, lands really slow. David asks, how do you find time to work on so many jets and have a job as well? Great time management skills. That's pretty much it. I don't generally watch TV. I've got a TV in the shop right there, and I never actually sit down and watch TV and focus my attention on it. So I don't spend a lot of time doing stuff, like doing time wasting stuff is what I call it. And my grandma used to call the TV the idiot box, and I'll never forget that. But it's yeah, so I don't spend a lot of time doing random stuff, which is time wasting. And basically, I'm either sleeping, working, or working on airplanes, or doing family stuff. That's pretty much it. Am I working on full time on RC planes now? No, I'm not working on full time on RC planes. The reason I was able to get the Big Hawk completed so quickly is I had some vacation time that I needed to use up before the end of the year, so I took some time off. I think it was 10 days in total, and we got the Hawk completed. And then I've actually been off for about 12 days in a row now, or it will be 12 days at the end of Christmas. And that's how I got the Bull done, get the Ranger done. But what I find too is once you've done one of these planes once, you can do the next one much quicker, and you kind of figure out all the problems. Like a Skymaster F-18 now, I've built quite a few of those things, so you know all the little issues. And then when you've built so many Skymaster kits, you know how they generally do things. Like every plane will be a little bit different, but Skymaster, whether it's the PC-21 or the Hawk, all the hinging is the same, the servo control is the same, mounting stuff is the same. So you kind of get used to doing that stuff, and it just makes everything go quicker. Let's see here. Oh yeah, another highlight, flying the F-15 with the new 190s. Man, that thing was nuts. Victor, you should make the jump to Jetty, but too late. You just bought a new radio. Yeah, and like for some people, for me to make the switch, I don't have a ton of planes. Like I've never owned a ton of aircraft. I actually feel bad, and I've talked about this before, but I've got so my Taylor craft, which is sitting right there, that still is on JR, but I don't have my JR radio anymore. I sold it. So that still has a JR receiver in it. My Yak there, that's been switched over to Jetty. My Goblin helicopter, that's still JR. But yeah, so I haven't flown my helicopter in 2 years. Haven't flown the Taylor craft in 2 years, I think. And I would be okay if those planes went to a new home, because I don't like keeping those things that I don't fly. So I've never owned a crap load of aircraft. I just don't feel the need. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Oh, what's my opinion about FR Sky, Free Sky? I've never flown with one. I've held one at one of the events, and I'm not sure what model it was, but I think their radios are mostly the same layout. Feels okay. I don't like the feel of the radio. It's almost like my Jetty, but it's just shorter. Be back in a sec. So one of the things when I held the Free Sky one, is it felt like it was like this long. and didn't initially feel okay, but I don't. I've never flown with one, so I don't know. If I think from what I've heard, I think they're open systems, so they work with everything. But again, I'm just making some assumptions here. So, gray turns black. Yes, absolutely. Heli Scorch said, "Do you prefer air pressure operated landing gear over electric landing gear, and why?" That's Sven. They both work. If you set up an air system properly, it will work, and it will work very well. On a sports jet, I absolutely prefer electric. I think it's just so much easier, simpler, and but the gear system on a sports jet is simple as well too. When you think about the Hawk there, the F4 that's coming up, the F-18s. Skymaster has basically designed those planes around an air system. The PC-21 that we just finished, that had an air system. We switched it over to Electrons, ER-50s. It worked fine. There was a bunch of geometry change that happened, and we made it work, but it's not the way the plane was designed, but it'll still work great. So there's, there are some scenarios where you could use either or, but you are limited in some scenarios, like a lot of the Skymaster planes, you have no other option. The Carf MiG over there that we just finished, obviously that's electric with electron retracts, but the design on that aircraft is absolutely nuts. And the gear, and I touched on this in the series, but the gear is just like the angles going on and all that stuff. It was a lot of engineering for them to be able to use electrons in that aircraft. So I like both. They both work well. But if I could pick one or the other now, I would go with electric. But I'm okay using both. All right. Wow, we got people watching from New Zealand, all over the place. In your opinion, which manufacturer produces the best quality builds? Good question. Now, there's a lot of good manufacturers out there, and they all have their pluses and minuses. And I'll touch on some of them. I don't have experience with them all, but you kind of have to decide what is best for you and what you're wanting to spend your money on. You can buy a Boomerang, one of their jets, whatever it is, like the Ranger as an example. You're not going to get a Ferrari. You're going to get an aircraft that has a fiberglass fuselage, wood built up wings, covering on the wings and surfaces. And if you're okay with that, it's a beautiful airplane. And you have to be aware that you're spending this much money, and that's what you're going to get. So as long as you're okay with what you're paying for, that's really what matters. A lot of manufacturers like Boomerang, they put out great quality products. Skymaster, good products, nice scale airplanes. Do they have problems? Absolutely. If you guys watch my build videos, every single one of my Skymaster builds, there's something weird you have to figure out, some sort of issue, hardware that I wouldn't use. Probably one of the best manufacturers that just has a good overall quality process, quality hardware would be Carf. I mean, Composite ARF makes beautiful kits, and in general, they always go together well. They're always well built. They're always finished well. So there's some of the manufacturers. I know there's a lot of other manufacturers out there like T1 and stuff. Hispano Aviation, that has been, and I'm not telling you this just because I own one now, but that has been one of the best made aircraft that I have ever seen. I am really excited to be able to build an ultimatum from them coming up for Jurgen. And the bull specifically, it's kind of like if I was to compare it to something in the automotive world, it's kind of like buying the Ferrari or the Lamborghini, where it's just everything's finished so well. It's light where it needs to be light. It's built up and strong where it needs to be strong. So that's been a real treat to deal with. So there's lots of great manufacturers out there. There's some new ones that I don't have any experience with. You really have to, like when I'm putting a kit together, I'm always looking at everything in the kit. The Boomerang Ranger there's a couple glue joints that weren't glued, so I glued them. When you're putting a Skymaster together, you're looking over everything and thinking about that kind of stuff. One of the things that's going to be interesting is when I put my F4 together, and when we start the new F4 build, which is right there. My kit's an older generation kit, like a few years old. It'll be interesting to compare those two and see what the difference is between them. So hopefully that answers your question. There's lots of great manufacturers, but when you put the airplane together, you gotta make sure you look over everything. What's my full-time job? So my full-time job, I work in the construction industry. I manage a construction company. That's what I do. I got started in the construction industry back in 2005, and I actually worked for a spray foam company for about 10 years. I ran a spray foam truck, moved into construction management, ran the company for a few years, changed sides, and now I work for a different construction company for actually this January will be another 10 years at the new company. So that's what I do. I spend most of my time sitting behind a desk, estimating, putting out fires, dealing with stuff like that. So that's what I do 9 to 5, and that's my regular job. What's my full-time job? Do you feel mostly motivated when you're in the shop? Yes. Generally, 95% of the time, I feel motivated. There are some times when I'm done. And actually, earlier this week, so I've been on holidays now for 8 days, and honestly, I've done very little during those 8 days. I just needed some wind down time. So me and my wife Katie, we've been hanging out and just relaxing, and it's been fun. Been doing running around with the kids and stuff like that. So when I need time off, I take it, and I just don't spend a lot of time in the shop. When I'm in the shop, though, I am 100% motivated and 95% motivated. But I put stuff on the TV just to have playing in the background. I like good music to keep me motivated, and so that's what I do. Let's see here. What jet would you say is your dream jet? That changes, Ryan. 3 years ago, my friend asked me what my dream jet is, and I said it was a Carf L39. He bought one. I got to build it and fly it and all that kind of stuff. And so that dream jet is now come and gone, and there's another L39 over there as well too. That's kind of an evolving thing. My current dream jet is I want a big F-16, and I would like to have one by next winter, but we'll see what happens. I don't know if I'll be able to swing it as far as funds go and stuff, but that's my next dream jet, a big, like a 5th scale Skymaster F-15, something like that. So that would be tons of fun, I think. I kind of moved away from the scale jets for quite a while, and now I'm kind of feeling more excited to get back into it with my F4. So need a lighter sided sticker from my trailer. There's one right there. It's not huge though, but it's a big one. Do I know Joe Grice in the States? No, I don't. Have I weighed the Hawk? Yes, the Hawk I think I'd look it up on my phone, but you guys are on my phone. I think the Hawk was 67 pounds or 65 pounds dry. That's how much the Hawk was. What's the best turbine on the market? Whatever works for you. That's such a loaded question. They're all great. I mean, I'll keep it as general as possible. All the turbine manufacturers out there, the big ones, they're all putting out quality product, guys. Whatever floats your boat is awesome. Currently, I'm a Sweewind fan because I'm a Sweewind dealer. I moved away from King Tech because of some issues that I had year and year and year over and over and over again. And so I moved away from King Tech for that reason. But Zycoy makes a great product right now. I've never been a huge fan of JetCat, but I know lots of people fly them all over the place because they're more accessible, more available, and service and all that kind of stuff. So they all buffering. There we go. Hopefully we're still working. The counter's still working. So, oh, where's the cat? Cat's inside. Little bent screwdriver. Oh, trusty bent screwdriver somewhere. Let's see here. What other questions do we have? Yeah, Nez is inside sleeping right now. The JetCat Pro Series turbine, cool stuff. I've always thought that was kind of a cool thing to have the generator in the starter assembly. So I mean, they're all doing really cool things. You know, JetCat, great turbines, cool stuff. I mean, to bring that back a little bit, we're in such a cool time in the hobby. I think back to 2006 when I first got involved in the RC hobby stuff. You know, the past however many years that is the changes have been crazy. Even the past 10 years, like our turbine technology, radio technology has just been amazing. So it's really cool to see all the changes. I don't think you can go wrong with anything right now. So, Randy said, Randy said, we have some EDF guys here in Phoenix that want to get into turbines. What do you think would be the top 2 or 3 beginner jets I could recommend for them? Honestly, guys, this is a bit of an old school mentality, but the best starter jet that you can get would be a Boomerang twin boom aircraft. That's the number one starter, I think. Sorry, guys, our connection apparently is sucking. Sorry, apparently our connection is sucking. So lots of great options out there for starter jets. Even the foamies now are pretty awesome. There's lots of good ones as well too. So Nico said, have you enjoyed running the turboprops that you've been around? Are they easy to maintain? Yes, I think the turboprops are probably in the best value, best durability that they've ever been in compared to previously. The turboprops, 10 years ago, gearboxes were a huge issue. We've had great results with the Zycoy X45 turboprop that Steve put in his PC21. I think he recently sold that aircraft, and that turboprop, I believe, had 12 hours on it, which is, in my mind, is awesome. So that's the turboprops have been really, really good lately. There's lots of great equipment coming out, especially from Zycoy. I mean, the Zycoy turboprops have been outstanding. The JetCat turboprop that we just put in the PC21, the fuel delivery system on that blew me away. How all the fuel goes through the front bearing, then goes to the engine, then goes to the bearings. It's just really, really cool stuff. And I think they're actually thinking about doing all that. Do twin turbines use separate fuel tanks? Good question. Depends on the setup of the aircraft. So the big A10 that's hanging up from the ceiling, that particular aircraft is designed to have two completely separate fuel systems. So in that case, yes, something like an F-18 with a twin setup, you've got saddle tanks that feed into the front main tank. And in that case, you've got kind of two separate fuel systems. So you've got two UATs, two bubble traps, but those bubble traps are pulling from the main tank together. So not really two separate fuel systems. So you can set it up multiple ways, but it's going to be mostly based on how the aircraft is designed. So let's see here. Buffering. Yes, I was buffering. Thanks to the great videos. Your channel normally is what plays in the background of my workshop. Thank you. Oh, from South Africa. Very cool. So good question from Ronaldo. Hey there, Merry Christmas from Miami. I've been flying for 30 years, mostly World War II planes, and I would like to start on jets. What's your recommended? Would you recommend to start on electric or jump to turbines directly? So one of the things that I've seen this year is those guys that were located close to us that were starting into turbine jets. They were like mostly warbird pilots. I think of one in particular, Brad. He flew warbirds. And probably the easiest jump to turbines was for him. Because the wing loading is higher on a warbird, it's more like flying a turbine jet. So, Ronaldo, I would say just jump right into turbine jets because the electric stuff is fun, but it's not the same. It really isn't. It can get you prepared for it, but it's really not the same feeling. So, let's see here. Merry Christmas Eve, yes. Oh, another great starter jet. Yeah, Victor said Banana Hobbies 105 millimeter L39. Yes, that is good. Oh yeah, no more propane start. That is, that's awesome. What's my take on the remote ID nonsense? I don't know. I'm gonna avoid answering that question. We're having some fun stuff going on up here in Canada right now, but we're not going to talk about that. And anyways, we'll leave that politics side out of this. Velocity addiction, not an RC pilot, aircraft, and I just don't get along, but love your videos, use them for inspiration, building my race cars. Very cool. Yeah, cool cat. I'll not be taking part in over the regulation. Sorry, guys, I'm just reading through all these things. Can you do a video on gyros? I can. I need to think about how to put the video together. So if you can email me those things, guys, that would be ideal. It's sometimes when you have those video ideas, you got to make sure you relay what you're looking for in the video. Like if you're looking for how to set up a Cortex with a jetty system, yes, that's easy to produce. If you're looking about how to set up a gyro, that's fairly easy to produce. But something like, can you compare all the gyros that are out there? That's a little more difficult because I don't have experience with all of the gyros and I don't have all of the gyros in the shop. So, let's see. How many channels for a fifth scale F-18? As many as you can. A fifth scale F-18, I actually, because we have one that we're going to be building, I actually wrote out all my channels for that radio or for that airplane a couple weeks ago. Can't remember the number that we had, but I think we can do it with like 21 comfortably. So as many as possible. If you're pairing up stuff, so if you're pairing up flaps and things like that, that's when it kind of gets tricky. And obviously there's so many ways to set up each aircraft. Like if you're using a power box, that allows you to open up all your channels. So there's a lot of ways to do things, but as many as possible is the generic answer. Richard, love your content. My buddy met you and your wife at Kentucky Jets. Very cool. Nice, thank you. Rush or tragically hip? Tragically hip. What's my favorite airfield up there in Canada? Ooh, that's a good one. My favorite airfield, two. So my favorite airfield to go to and just hang out and get some good flying in and meet with some good people is Alberta's littlest airport. So from me, it's about I think 2.5 hours northeast. And I first went to that place about 3 years ago and fell in love with it. It is absolutely amazing. I know I use amazing a lot, but this is right up there with the best crew people ever. So for just a general vibe and having fun, that's a great place to go, and I go there every year multiple times. Favorite airfield to fly at? I've got a few. I mean, I like my club that I do most of my flying at, which is Prop Busters, which is 2 hours north of me. I like it because there's no politics. It's laid back. It's relaxed. It's a grass field. I love Towfield, which is 3.5 hours north of me. And I love it because it's a full size runway, tons of fun to fly at. I mean, asphalt's beautiful. So those are kind of my favorite local ones. I haven't been to, airfields all over the country, but those are my highlights for the stuff that we've got close to us. Dad's RC Hangar said, "What's the next big jet build?" The next one that's going to be on the channel is going to be probably the twin F4s. Twin F4s, pair of F4s, one with a twin, one with a single. That'll be the next big one coming up on the channel. Next big plane is we do have an extra large Skymaster F-14 on order. That thing is going to be bonkers. So I think I was pacing it out yesterday. Let's take a look here. I don't even know if I can capture this in the camera. I think that F-14, pardon my pants, I'm hot. So I think that F-14 fuselage will start here and go all the way to here. It's going to be an absolute monster of a plane. It's pretty crazy how big that thing is going to be. So I'm looking forward to that. That's the next big plane on the channel. Let's see here. Good questions coming through, guys. That's awesome. I ordered an Aerofoam foamy T45. I'm planning to power it with a King Tech 102. What do you think about laminating the foam? I would just honestly keep it as light as possible and keep it the way it is myself. A lighter plane always flies better. That's my suggestion. Speaking of gyros, do you put them in all your jets? If so, why? Yes. Every single one of my aircraft gets a gyro. Very simple reason. And the old school guys, and I'm going to call you old school because I used to be like this as well too, and I've got a few friends that still are. The old school guys say, "Oh, I don't need a gyro to fly my plane." Yes, you don't. Absolutely, you don't. The Bull does not need a gyro to fly. Every single one of those aircraft to my left probably don't need a gyro to fly. But I tell you, my Ultra Flash that I just sold, that didn't need a gyro to fly. But when that plane needs a gyro the most, or when you'll get the benefit the most, is when you're landing. So I could pull my Ultra Flash up, fly it around, have a great Russell, perfect, thank you. Great time flying the aircraft with my gyro turned off. But when you turn that gyro on for landing, it is extremely important and it's going to help you a ton. So what happens with my aircraft is my Bull, as an example, right now I've got it set to like 25% gain during regular flight. When I go to landing mode, that gets up to 20 points to like 45%. And that absolutely locks in the aircraft for landing. So, you know, with your gyro off, you're going to be fighting the wind. The plane's doing this when you're coming down, and you're kind of fighting it. That gyro on landing, that plane's coming in and it's doing this, and it's absolutely locked in. And that gyro can react faster than you can. So if you get it a little bit slow and it has a tendency to drop a wing, it's going to correct. Now it can hurt you because the plane can get too slow and there's no more airflow over the surfaces. But absolutely every plane should have a gyro. Harry Curzon said this really well in one of his videos. If you had the option to drive your vehicle without suspension or with suspension, what would you choose? So the gyro is like your suspension in your vehicle. It just cancels out all the bumps and helps deal with that outside influence. It doesn't change, doesn't drive the vehicle for you. It just makes it more comfortable. So that's the analogy that I like to use. Russell, who's one of my good friends locally here, we put a Cortex into his Rebel Pro, and absolutely loves it. Right? So I've got him hooked and converted. So, let's see. Do you need a power box for beginners turbine jet? No, you don't. Really, so many aircraft don't actually need a power box. I'll show you guys the setup that we're using here in the Ranger. So if you're not familiar with Jetty, it's going to be a little bit possibly confusing, but I'll try and keep it as simple as possible. So the setup here we're using in the Ranger, we've got a dual switch from Jetty. So our batteries go right here. This is a remote switch, so we can turn the airplane on and off from the radio. The battery comes in to this single port and gets plugged into the Rex 12 receiver. Now the Rex 12 receiver, we've got it plugged into the Cortex gyro. So this is a 12-channel receiver, but because the gyro has 6 but 7 channels, you could actually conceivably get like 18, 19 channels out of this setup. And this is what we're powering the Ranger with, and it doesn't need any more than that. So you really don't need a massive power system in most aircraft or sports jets. The Bull, I'm using a central box, which is like call it a power box, but it's not. It's just a different brand. But the Bull doesn't even need that as well. So, but yeah, not every aircraft does. Let's see here. What brand of radio do you recommend? I have a Boomerang Elan as my first turbine. Any suggestions for setup and maiden? Set it up as per the manufacturer's recommendations. Adjust it for the first 20 flights. It's a really locked in airplane. It's really easy to fly. That's kind of my recommendation. I mean, the Bull, I'm going to refer to the Bull because it's the one that I built recently. But the Bull, we've got low rates and high rates that Hispano Aviation has given with the kit. What I've done is I've set the surfaces up in the middle, and I'll adjust the feel of the aircraft over the first 20 flights. Really, like you're changing you're changing something. That's my methodology. Is you want to be changing something every single flight for the first 10 to 20 flights. You know, if you bring that aircraft down and you're thinking to yourself, man, I was fighting this or doing this, don't keep flying the aircraft, fighting those things. Adjust the aircraft to suit your flying style, but just keep adjusting it and making it better for you. What brand of radio do you recommend? I've been really happy with Jetty, guys. Awesome radio. if you're just hopping on now, this is one of my highlights of this year was switching over to Jetty. It's been phenomenal. That's what I'd recommend. Oh, Neil asked a good question. I was performing a downwind turn. I decided it was too shallow, so I added more elevator and it induced a snap roll. I still don't know what caused it. It was a Rebel hot with a SWE 180. Any ideas? What probably caused it is you were too slow, and with that aircraft, if it's snapping, you probably don't have enough airflow over the surfaces. That would be my guess, but that's generally what's going to cause it. Ryan said, what's the current lead time to get a jet built by the lighter side of RC? Well, that's our list right there of aircraft that we've got in the queue, but the lead time depends on lots of different factors. So right now, if you were to go to the bottom of the list, probably about 8 months, I would say, would be the current lead time. But we're always waiting for aircraft to come in. I mean, we've got some of those aircraft on order, waiting for parts. So it really depends, but about 8 months would be realistic. Let's see here. Do you trust Jetty Assist gyro in turbines? I've actually never used the Jetty Assist yet, so I don't have any experience with that. We've got one here in the shop, and I think it's going to be going in the Hangar 9 build, the Corsair. So that'll be the first experience with it. Somebody asked, what should your flight experience be before going into turbine jets? Well, I would say if you can land any aircraft 50 times in a row, 100% perfect, without any issues, then you're probably ready. But if you're fighting every aircraft to land, you're probably not ready. And it's going to depend on what you're used to flying. So if you're flying warbirds, you're already dealing with flaps, retractable gear, heavy wing loading. If you're flying prop planes like aerobatic planes, it's probably the worst transition possible because you got instant power, light wing loading, and you can kind of get out of any situation at any time. So really, it's going to depend on your experience. When you get into turbine jets, people don't think about all the stuff involved. When you pull that airplane out of your trailer, your vehicle, whatever, you put it together, you got to make sure you're focused, you're fueling it up, everything's ready for your flight, you take off, you're putting the gear up, you're putting your flaps up, you're gaining altitude, you're doing your flight, you're dropping there's just so much stuff going on. It really helps to have a good helper or somebody to teach you, and that would be my suggestion. But it's going to really depend on your experience. So let's see here. Yeah, Paul said accelerated stall spin, low speed coupled with high bank angle. Yeah. Hamid said more videos for beginning in the jets is really important. The few you did is really helpful. Perfect. I'll try and kind of revive that beginner series a little bit here in the new year. And let's see here. Just going through the last comments here. Cool Cat said, Jonathan, talking about stability and dropping the wing, do you also include a small washout in the wing to prevent tip stalling at low speed? It's going to depend on the aircraft. So like most aircraft benefits, in my opinion, benefits from crow. The Boomerang Elan that my buddy flies, Stacy, that he's been learning a ton on. That's got Crow on it. My Ultra Flash had Crow. We'll probably put some on the Bull as well too. So yeah, it definitely helps. Merry Christmas, Jonathan and wife. Any new Christmas jets for you? Nothing new for me. The F4 is my personal next jet, but we picked that up earlier this year. So Rex 12 and a Boomerang Sprint is okay by you? Absolutely. That Rex 12, that plane with that one Rex 12 is totally fine. And what we're going to do in that guy is put an extra power lead to the Cortex, just because. But yeah, totally a good situation. And we may put a clone receiver in there, but not 100% sure yet. So, oh, here's some good questions. What's the worst mistake new guys to turbines make? That is a really good question. Thank you, Ray, for that question. The worst mistake that new guys to turbines make. There's a few. Number one, thinking they know more than they actually know and not being open to instruction from those with more experience. That is probably the number one mistake. Everybody has to eat a piece of humble pie. I know that's a very cliche term, but when you first start flying turbine aircraft, if you have somebody that's helping you go through the process and you trust them, I would listen to everything they say. There's a lot going on with the plane, and so make sure you trust the person that's helping you, but also listen to them. The other thing is having systems for everything. So that's the other big mistake that I see people make. So when I learned this a few years ago, but what I started doing on my radio is when I go to turn an aircraft on, all of my switches are away or forward from me. So I can look down at my radio with the aircraft built, and I can say, okay, I'm ready to turn on my Ranger or Bull or whatever, and it's good to go because every switch is forward. Now the radios have, you can set up the warnings and all that kind of stuff, but why not just make it super simple and say all my switches are away, it's ready to go. So having those little things and following your systems are really important. I try and do all of my aircraft, my radio the same, all that kind of stuff. So everything is systemized. I've got a switch for this, I've got a switch for this. That switch always stays the same. Brakes on my aircraft is always this slider. It works for me. So following those systems and not having to think about all the differences between the planes would be another huge mistake as well. That's a good question. Thank you for that. I haven't flown many turbine simulators, but are they any good for developing muscle memory? The simulators, in my opinion, are terrible. The planes are too floaty. It's not realistic. It's fun for learning maneuvers and stuff, but if you're trying to fly the simulator to learn landing, it's not the same. Let's see here. What brand is my F4? My F4 is a Skymaster, and the one we just got in the shop here is a Skymaster as well. Let's see here. Any other questions? Oh, are the turbines and electronics able to withstand a crash, or do they all become junk? Good question, actually. So so if you guys, one of the other questions that Russell mentioned this year was the lowlights of my year. Well, the low light of my year was having my Diamond crash, and this actually kind of ties in well. The low light of my year was having my Diamond crash, and not at first knowing why it crashed. So it was a hardware issue. We'll just keep it at that. But this ties well into your question about turbines. So I won't pull this out of the package, but so here's my Sweewind 220 that was in my diamond right there. And this turbine was very, very damaged. Maybe I'll pull it out here. So this turbine was very, very damaged when it went back to Sweewind to get repaired. But here is my 220 back from Sweewind. So in my diamond, the exhaust cone was probably the only thing that was still in good shape, because this, I think, is the original exhaust cone, but I'm not sure. My case was bent. The front cover here was bent. The whole housing was ripped off. But anyways, there's my Sweewind 220 in perfect working order. So most of the turbines can be fixed. It kind of comes down to how much it costs and whether it makes sense to put the money into it. But in the case of like the Sweewind there, it was actually really affordable to send it back to the factory and have them replace everything they replaced. I mean, they I don't know for sure, but I think they pretty much replaced everything. So, and it really wasn't too terrible. So, let's see here. Now, the other thing with that though is my ECU that gets mounted in the plane was garbage. The fuel pump was garbage. So, you know, all those things needed to be replaced as well too. There really wasn't much left. Let's see here. Ray said, my last question is, you told me to fly the model, not the money. I'm still struggling with this. Any help? That's going to be a you thing, Ray, but and this isn't really great advice. It's actually terrible advice, but crash a plane. Crash a plane. And maybe that'll help you. But no, I mean, that you just need to get over it. You know, it was an expensive year for me with the Diamond. Unfortunately, it happens. If you're going to be flying the planes, it's going to happen. Accept it. Be okay with it. Move on. And it's not a big deal. Really isn't. But it is a hard one for people to get over. So why do turbines have so many batteries? Why not one battery with the BEC for different voltage requirements? Good question, Craig. Paul kind of touched on it, but yeah, it's, you know, it's really not, I think sometimes we overdo things, but like the ultimatum that we've got coming, we're going to be powering that with I think a Jetty BEC, one big battery. So we'll have to see how that all works out. But yeah, it's basically about redundancy is really what it is. So, if you're thinking about streaming regularly, it might be worth having a few moderators to field the inevitable influx of unwanted spam. I would like to nominate Victor RC Jets and Dad's RC Hangar. I think that's a great idea. Crash a plane, yes, that's honestly. So here's the thing. The reason I say that is, so Stacy, my good friend, who we do lots of builds for, I think he's probably still on here. We crashed a plane a couple years ago. I think it was a couple years ago, not this past summer, the one before. And that kind of spearheaded him. He's like, wow, what actually happened is I was flying his one of his planes just in a bad situation, had a flame out. Plane went into the ground. And I think his comment was, wow, if Jonathan can crash it, I guess anybody can. So that's why I say crash a plane. whatever. It's just a plane. It's just a toy. Thanks, guys. Cool. Well, I don't see any more questions. If there's any final questions, pop them up on the screen, guys. But I think we're going to probably wrap up the live stream there. It's been 76 minutes. That's crazy. Thank you so much for the support. I appreciate all the kind remarks and comments. When you guys tell me about just the things like thank you for what you do on your channel and thank you for helping me and all that kind of stuff. That's really what this is all about. And I don't mean to be cheesy or anything like that, but I started this channel. I started doing what I was doing partly because I loved model aviation, but I find there's a mentality in the hobby that if people have this knowledge, and I get some stuff is proprietary. Like if you're a manufacturer and you make turbine engines, some of that stuff's proprietary. I get it. But I'm talking about like putting planes together, building techniques, stuff like that. Like we really need to be a community of sharing and not holding that stuff so close. And that's what the reason I started this channel was I think too many guys were holding on to that knowledge and that stuff and thinking that it's secret. And we can really help the whole community by sharing that stuff. And so that's why I do this. I love putting these videos together. I love seeing new people come to the hobby. That's a huge one for me. So I appreciate you guys when you reach out and say, thanks. I just, finished my first turbine flight or built my first turbine plane. Honestly, it makes me smile big time. And that's the thing that does it for me. So I do honestly appreciate that. So, and yeah, there's a couple other final questions here. Is there a CARF SU-27 coming up anytime soon? No. I kind of would like a big SU, but I think an F-16 for me is kind of does it more. So personally, I would like an F-16 over an SU. In the UK, we hardly have any places you can fly turbine. Do you have any restrictions in the US? So I'm located in Canada. We don't have to be careful what I say. We sort of have restrictions, but not really. We're kind of a club of people that are like, if we're at a club with every type of flyer, we're the black sheep. But we're okay flying with everybody. So most of it comes down to politics as well too, which I am not a fan of in this hobby at all. So I don't know if that really answered the question, but what's a good second turbine after a Falcon Tornado twin boom? I'm looking at a Viper jet. Also, any more getting started into turbine videos? Good question, Richard. I'll try and do some more of those and kind of spark up that side of things in the new year. My suggestion would be a good sports jet, like a good standard layout sports jet. There's lots of good options out there. Find something that's really excites you. Find something that's in your price range. Like you could get a Ranger. It's good quality kit, well put together, well priced. You could buy a Bull. It's on the more expensive end of things, and it's going to fly lighter. So there is really so many options. Something with that kind of Viper type layout, which the Bull has, obviously a Viper has, the Ranger kind of has, all are great options. And there is really, there's so many good aircraft out there. We'll change the US to Canada. I think we would rather be part of the US right now than Canada. Is the Bull M1 a good second jet after my Elan? Absolutely. So guys, you'll see it in the build videos coming up. That Bull, and I'm going to do a bit of a spoiler here for you. That Bull, so the final weight with the UAT full is 30 pounds. That thing is so light, It is amazing and unbelievable how light that aircraft is. The tail on that aircraft, the two elevator surfaces, are bigger than most planes' wings. Like, that's a generalization, but the tail is huge. The wings are huge. So yes, you would. The Bull is a very, very easy flyer. So if you're thinking about one and you like the looks of it, I would definitely go that route. So how about go cheap with foam jets? They're definitely a cost-effective way to get into it. I don't think they're overly durable, just with hanger rash and things like that. So I don't own any foam turbine jets, but it is just a really great way to get involved in the hobby for, I think, a reasonable price. So it's kind of a cool, cool way to get into the hobby. Now, that foam jet thing is almost like, you go back 10 years ago and it was the same thing with prop planes and ARFs, right? Some guys hate it. Some guys think it's the worst thing to happen to the hobby. But again, you're getting political, and if it brings people to the flying field and they enjoy it and they like doing it, I'd say great. It's awesome. So yeah, 30 pounds, like crazy. It's so crazy how light that Bull is. I'm excited. Any negatives on the Carf Ultra Flash? So the Ultra Flash is probably one of the best, most popular belly button jets. Some guys will get that. It's definitely a belly button jet. So if you don't get the analogy, everybody's got a belly button. The Ultra Flash is a belly button jet. I've owned so many of them. The negatives to the Ultra Flash is it's fast. So that's not necessarily negative for some people, but it is a fast airplane. It can slow down tremendously, but you have to learn to slow it down for landing. So it's not like the Ultra Flash is great. I love flying them. It's not like flying the Bull, right? The Bull you can slow down. You can come to a crawl and land the thing. The Ultra Flash is not the same, but really, really strong jet. Probably one of the strongest jets ever built, I would say. So, yeah, Rebels. Russell texted me. Rebels are a good second aircraft. Absolutely, the Rebel. I would. So when I ordered my Bull, I was really close to ordering a Rebel. The problem with the Rebel for me is I'm not a belly button jet kind of guy. So I really struggle buying something that everybody has. I like the aircraft that not many people have. Belly button, yes. Hey, that's just the way it is. It's a belly button jet. I owned an Ultra Flash that was a belly button jet, and that's okay. But yeah, so the Rebels are a great lineup of aircraft as well too. Really can't go wrong with them. They fly amazing, and of course, the bigger they are, the better they fly too. So that's pretty normal. All right, I'm getting a little talked out. So, what do you think of the Aviation Design Phoenix? Cool plane. Aviation Design makes good stuff. And anyways, so I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Again, thank you for the support on the channel. We have some cool giveaways coming up, some cool tests coming up, some very cool builds coming up as well. Merry Christmas to everybody. If you haven't checked out my website, check it out. There's some new things on there. We've put some MKS servo stuff on there. If you have any questions, it's always better to email me. The comment section in YouTube is not very good at all. And a lot of times people's comments will show up and they'll just disappear. So yeah, if you have any specific questions that you feel you want answered, make sure you email me, thelightersideofrc@gmail.com. And that's the best way to communicate with me. So thanks, guys, for watching. Hopefully you have a great Christmas if that's what you celebrate. And keep an eye out for some really cool videos coming up. I appreciate all the support. And thank you for watching my videos. That's really what this all comes down to. So thanks, guys, and we'll see you shortly.